Hello and welcome to today's episode of Stand Up. My guest joining me is Maura Quint. We were together live last night at 7 p.m. If you're not, subscribe to me on Substack at Stand Up with Pete or YouTube at Stand Up with Pete. Then you might not be getting the alerts when I do go live, but you should go subscribe so you can watch these interviews live. We had almost 200 people there, and I would love to have you there chiming in. Love to take your comments and bring them into the conversation. It's always great to be live. That conversation on today's episode of Stand Up begins at 27 minutes. But I do have your headlines and a clip show, which I'm very excited to share with you. Lots of good stuff to share from the last 24 hours. I want to apologize to those of you that are missing the regular Monday night hangouts that we've been doing since the election back in November. I've really benefited from just a little bit time off, one more night off. As a matter of fact, last night I took advantage of it and I went outside to see the moon. Went down by the Hudson River and experienced the full super harvest moon here in early October, and it was wonderful. And I was just down there alone enjoying myself and relaxing on a beautiful warm night here in October. So I'm sorry to those of you that are missing the Monday night hangouts. I'm sure I will bring them back and do random 2 hangouts a week. I know how much people look forward to them, but I just need one more night, a little bit more time off into myself, especially this month in the run up to 50 at the end of the month. I'm really trying to get as healthy as I can between now and then and form some healthy new habits and stuff like that. So anyway, let's get to the show, but I will see you at Thursday night's hangout anytime on the Discord platform if you're a subscriber at patreon.com/Pete Dominic. Also, I've got a busy day of guests today, October 7th, if you're listening. At 10 a.m., I'll be live with Jeff Jarvis. At 12 noon, I'll be live with best-selling author and journalist Colin Woodward to talk about his new book, Nations Apart, How Clashing Regional Cultures Shattered America. Fascinating journalist. Looking forward to talking to him for the first time. Then I'll be speaking with, at 3 p.m. East, Sam Youngman, and very much looking forward to him. And at 5 p.m., Eric Siegel. 4 guests. Jarvis, 10 a.m. Colin Woodward will join me at 12 noon. At 3, then 5 p.m. East, Sam Youngman and Eric Siegel. I'll be live on youtube.com/standupwithpete or substack.com/standupwithpete. Also live on several other platforms, including Facebook, often Instagram, and Twitter as well. You can find me there, but I'm pushing you for sure towards YouTube and or Substack, whichever works. Please subscribe. You can watch them live. You can comment live as well. There should be a lot of people at all those. It's going to be a busy day for me tomorrow, so I hope to see you there. And now it's time to get to the headlines and the clips that I've got for you. Let's do it.
It's Pete's Headlines and Clip Show. Get in on the shit show.
Yeah. It's always a shit show. There's still no end in sight for the government shutdown. Republicans, Democrats now believing they both have the upper hand politically, according to the New York Times, that is. Neither has shown much interest in negotiating. They say the White House press secretary yesterday, Caroline Leavitt, screeched that the administration was working to determine which federal workers were going to, quote, have to be laid off. So they love that. If the government does stay closed, still threatening. It might be a bluff. I'm not sure if they want to do that. The administration also sought to pressure Democrats by canceling projects in cities and states that they run, but those cuts are also going to hit Republican districts as well, including ones represented by 6 of the party's most vulnerable lawmakers, according to analysis from the New York Times. But unless a critical mass of well-heeled Americans or middle-class Americans that aren't having to deal with too many issues right now around all the things that the administration is doing or think that they aren't, I'm not sure what changes, unless, of course, something with air travel. I mean, already we are seeing all kinds of crazy delays. On Monday, both Denver and Newark experienced ground delays because of air traffic shortages. Officials in charge of the Air Traffic Controllers Union voicing concerns the shutdown is putting undue strain on controllers. Don't worry, the Secretary of Transportation, Sean Duffy, he's on the job. He's got it all under control. I'm sure everything will work out just fine. But if this federal program that subsidizes air travel to rural areas is going to be running out of money this Sunday, unless the government shutdown ends, so we're going to see if there's a lot more interruptions to air service if the standoff wears on, and that is something that could definitely move lawmakers to have to negotiate. I don't know. I can't see this ending, and I haven't read a lot of great analysis, but it's anybody's best guess. I think we just don't know at this point what's going to happen. All right, also the big story yesterday are all these lawsuits, Illinois, Oregon, suing California, the Trump administration, in an attempt to block its unlawful deployment of federal National Guard troops to Chicago. Illinois now suing. New lawsuit comes in less than 24 hours after California and Oregon secured a court order temporarily halting Trump's plan to send troops to Portland, which is a blow to the president's ongoing effort to target Democrat-led cities. Lawsuit says the administration's provocative and arbitrary actions have threatened to undermine public safety by inciting a public outcry. The governor of Illinois yesterday, J.B. Pritzker, demanded federal agents get the heck out. I played that on yesterday's show. And then he also said on CNN that they're the ones that are making it a war zone. Worth repeating. And hours later, Pritzker said Trump had ordered Texas National Guard units to deploy to Illinois, Oregon, and elsewhere without an attempt to discuss or coordinate it, even with him. Also yesterday, the mayor of Chicago, Brandon Johnson, signed an order to prohibit the use of city-owned spaces for civil immigration for ICE. ICE restricted spaces. I've got audio of both the governor and the mayor coming up for you in the clip show. Let's go to the Middle East, where negotiators, or Israel and Hamas, met yesterday with mediators in Egypt to begin discussing a sweeping peace plan presented last week by the regime of Donald Trump. The talks, mediated by officials from the U.S., Qatar, and Egypt, are likely to focus on the release of Israeli hostages in Gaza and the pullback of Israeli troops. Israel believes that about 20 hostages are still alive in Gaza, also seeks the remains of about 25 others. Both sides have indicated an openness to the plan, but much remains resolved, is the report I'm seeing. Also wanted to mention a big story yesterday is that Paramount is buying the Free Press, which is a digital news site, and they're appointing Barry Weiss, its controversial co-founder, as the editor-in-chief of CBS News. So a lot of people have a lot to say about her. Not that familiar with everything that she's done and said. I think our friend Bill Boyle's got the case on her, and I'm sure many of the rest of you do as well. We'll probably do a dive into, or you should let me know who I should be talking to, but the face of CBS News is definitely going to be changing. Supreme Court yesterday declined to review Ghislaine Maxwell's appeal in a rejection that could keep the notorious sex trafficker locked up, albeit in a comfortable place, apparently. Could keep her there for another decade if Trump doesn't grant her clemency, although he was asked about it in the Oval Office by Caitlin Collins. You'll hear that coming up. It looks like he might be considering it. Crazy. She knows a lot. The fact that she's still alive shows that we don't have as much power. They don't have as much power as one might think. I feel life is not really a Tom Clancy novel. But anyway, that was a pretty big development yesterday that the Supreme Court declined to review her appeal, and that Trump's like, you know what, I don't know. Who is this? Maybe I'll let it go. You probably heard it by now. By the way, the whole time he's sitting in the Oval Office, he covers his right hand wound or whatever that stain on his skin seems to be. The latest from Ukraine. Apparently, Russia attacked towns and cities across Ukraine before dawn on Sunday in another deadly large-scale missile and drone bombardment that the authorities said was aimed in a large part at crippling the nation's energy grid. President Volodymyr Zelensky of Ukraine said about 500 Russian attack drones and 50 missiles were launched overnight. Drones continue to swarm Ukrainian skies throughout the morning and early afternoon on Sunday, but we might be sending them Tomahawk missiles. That sounds like Trump is getting closer, which could be a pretty big game changer, apparently. Also, yesterday, our dear leader said that all medium and heavy-duty trucks imported in the United States will now face a 25% tariff starting November 1st, which is a significant escalation of his effort to protect U.S. companies from foreign competition, or at least that's how it was phrased in the news article that I'm reading. I'm not sure if that's accurate. Weird thing happened in the CIA personnel leadership, I think, scandal. The agency's deputy director, Michael Ellis, was abruptly demoted, and its acting general counsel has installed himself in that role, and he is a Trump loyalist. So Michael Ellis is the Trump loyalist, and he abruptly demoted the guy who was not a political appointee, a career lawyer, and now he's going to be deciding on his own ethical decisions. It's a really bad deal. The Senate's supposed to confirm somebody soon, but it's worth looking into. Look up this guy. Just Google CIA and Michael Ellis if you want to learn more. This is an interesting story by the New York Times that researched the number of foreign arrivals, international students apparently arriving in the U.S. for the fall semester has fallen by almost 20% compared to last year, the largest decline on record outside of the pandemic. The decline occurred, of course, as the Trump administration has instituted travel bans or restrictions for 19 countries, threatened to deport international students for pro-Palestinian speech, and heightened the vetting of student visa programs. 20% lower. Damn. Also wanted to mention a very important story coming out of Alaska newspapers. Yesterday, several journalists resigned from 3 newspapers in Alaska after the publication's corporate owner made significant edits to an article about Charlie Kirk's death, appearing to yield to pressure from a Republican state lawmaker who had criticized the coverage. And I had missed that story. I'm glad I saw it late last night because I think it's really important, because I think, as someone wrote that I shared, the quote, "In this climate, integrity is heroism." But these 3 Alaskan newspaper journalists, I want to try to get connected with one or all of them to have a conversation about this. But their article on Charlie Kirk was edited by Republican-pressured corporate cowards, and they resigned. So I don't know what these young journalists are going to do for work now, but I would love to talk to them because that's brave. And I agree. In this climate, integrity is heroism. The top prosecutor in Virginia has informed colleagues apparently she plans to decline to seek charges against New York Attorney General Letitia James. She's resisting this intense pressure from Trump and the White House. And apparently she's told colleagues that she plans to decline to seek charges against the New York Attorney General. Her name is Elizabeth Yusey. She oversees major criminal prosecutions in the Norfolk office of Eastern District of Virginia. She confided apparently to coworkers that she sees no probable cause to believe that Letitia James engaged in mortgage fraud. She plans to present her conclusion to the president's new interim U.S. attorney, Lindsay Halligan. It's going to be humiliating because I'm guessing Elizabeth Yusey has a lot more credibility, experience, and integrity than Lindsay Halligan, and she's probably going to get fired pretty soon, replaced by some stooge that will bring charges against the attorney general. But that remains to be seen. Let's go to France, where the prime minister has resigned. That's right. The prime minister resigned in a surprise move that came 24 hours after forming a cabinet. I guess he was there for like 25 days. Chaos in the politics and the government of France. They might have to call for parliamentary elections. And finally, hundreds of people are trapped on Mount Everest after heavy snow over the weekend. So if you're a praying person and you care about those people, but it's a pretty crazy story I wanted to mention. All right, those are your headlines. Let's get to the clips that I've gathered for you. Let's start with some comedy. This is from Jimmy Kimmel's monologue last night. I think it's a little over 3 minutes, but I loved it, so I'm sharing the whole thing.
We've had a hell of a couple of weeks, but I did get some exciting news this weekend. According to a new poll from YouGov, which is a serious polling site, or they were before this, I am more popular than the President of the United States. The guy who keeps saying I have no ratings? Well, that makes 2 of us. They polled more than 1,000 people, and I lead Trump by 16 points. I'm at +3. He's at -13. It's nice, but it feels like, considering the fact that I'm not a convicted felon friend of Jeffrey Epstein, and I've never paid off a porn star or sent a team of masked goons into a park to pull an old lady away from her grandchildren, I feel like my rating should be higher, maybe, than... At this point, finding a toenail in your salad has a 7-point lead over Donald Trump. And I hope he doesn't see this. I hate to... I don't like to upset him, but I think he might be upset because the White House put out a statement this afternoon. This is a real statement. Over 77 million Americans showed up on Election Day to cast their ballots for President Donald J. Trump, who is delivering on his overwhelming mandate to put America first. Jimmy Kimmel prays every night to garner a fraction of that support to keep his show on air after ratings dropped 64% last week. Sad. I like sad with an exclamation point. You know, it would make a nice T-shirt with Trump's face on it, wouldn't it? You know what else is sad? That the President of the United States has a lower approval rating than Diddy and diarrhea. That's what's sad. You know, if he's looking, I know he cares very deeply about this sort of thing. If he's looking to improve his approval numbers, I have an idea. Release the Epstein files. They did a poll on that, too. A vast majority say they want to see the Epstein files. 77% of Americans want the Epstein files released, but 100% of our American president does not want them released. Trump's treating these Epstein files like the grumpy old neighbor on Halloween. He turns off all the lights and just hopes the trick-or-treaters will assume there's nobody home. He's like, do you people not understand what a wonderful secret means? Today, Caitlin Collins from CNN asked Trump whether he plans to pardon Epstein's right-hand woman, Ghislaine Maxwell, and whereas he's usually, very quick to weigh in bigly on this type of thing, for this one, suddenly even-tempered and even deferential.
The Supreme Court is back in session. They rejected today an appeal by Ghislaine Maxwell to overturn her conviction. That means her only chance of getting out of prison is a pardon from you. Is that something you're open to?
Who are we talking about?
Ghislaine Maxwell.
I haven't heard the name in so long. I can say this, that I'd have to take a look at it. I'll look at it. I have a lot of people who have asked me for pardons. I call him Puff Daddy has asked me for a pardon.
She was convicted of child sex trafficking.
Yeah, I'm going to have to take a look at it. I have to ask DOJ.
Oh, yeah. Ask DOJ and get back to us, please. We'd love to. He calls him Puff Daddy. That's relevant.
Yeah, I loved it. So I shared a little more than normal. There you go. Kimmel last night, and you also heard our mad king of a president. If you hadn't heard that yet, you're probably still in shock that he's considering potentially giving her a pardon. It says a lot, right? It speaks volumes. All right, well, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez is one of my favorite lawmakers. I think she's great. I think she's super effective. And she went on Instagram last night, talked a little bit about this with Maura Quint coming up. But this is just a little sample of what she thinks we should do vis-a-vis Stephen Miller and his MAGA ilk.
Laugh at them. Stephen Miller is a clown. I've never seen that guy in real life, but he looks like he's like 4'10", and he looks like he is angry about the fact that he's 4'10", and he looks like he is so mad that he is 4'10", that he's taking that anger out at any other population possible. Like, laugh at them. Laugh at them. This is about insecure masculinity. And one of the best ways that you can dismantle a movement of insecure men is by making fun of them. By having secure men who aren't afraid of successful people around them, who are good dads, who have strong values, also participating in that as well.
Speaking of influential, strong women, let's go to the icon Jane Fonda, who's making the rounds on a promotional tour for a new project and talking a lot about politics. As usual, here she is on CNN.
No president has ever sent troops into the Democratic cities across the country saying full force. No president, as far as I know, has tried to control the Federal Reserve, the central bank. He is amassing power in a way that will destroy our democracy. And so we're going to stand up. We're creatives. We're storytellers. We can do it creatively. We can have a good time while we do it. But we want to push back, and we want to model what creative, nonviolent, non-cooperation looks like. That doesn't mean just showing up for people who are under attack, like Jimmy Kimmel. A lot of us signed that ACLU statement protesting what happened to Jimmy Kimmel. But we want to be proactive. And we want to show what that can look like. Violence is not, we will not tolerate violence. We don't want any of that. But we want to move forward with love, with unity, with solidarity, and we want to encourage everybody else and all the other sectors of this country to do the same. You know, we don't want to be a pillar of support to this regime that's forming.
Yeah, I'm for that. I'm for nonviolence and love and solidarity. I like it, Jane Fonda. I would like more. Here she is talking to the LA Times.
Really, one of the key things that I want to get across. We can protest, but ultimately we have to take power. It's about power. That's why voting is so important. You know, when democracy is failing you, you don't pull back and kind of become more moderate. You lean into it and become even stronger. And that's what we're trying to do.
All right. There you go. Jane Fonda, always an activist, now in her 80s. Let's go to the mayor of Chicago with an announcement. Brandon Johnson, take it away.
And today we are signing an executive order aimed at reining in this out-of-control administration. The order establishes ICE-free zones. That means that city property and unwilling private businesses will no longer serve as staging grounds for these raids.
There you go. Also at that press conference was the governor of Illinois. Here's J.B. Pritzker.
But I want to say this. Peaceful protesters are welcome. Federal agents who abuse their position to terrorize Illinoisans and incite violence are not welcome. They aren't receiving any orders from Trump to cease and desist their aggressive behavior. Remember, they answer only to Trump, not to the people of Illinois.
There you go, a little bit from the mayor and the governor. Now let's go to Greta Thunberg, the young activist who was known for her climate activism, who has also become a very staunch supporter of the pro-Palestine, Free Palestine movement. And she's among the flotilla activists who were deported from Israel. Some are still in prison, but she was part of this flotilla trying to bring aid. They were detained, apparently not treated very well, and then deported. And she was angry, very angry yesterday at a press conference held upon her release. I believe I've got all that right. Here is the indignant young woman from Norway.
Leaders, so-called leaders who are supposed to represent me, who continue to fuel a genocide, death and destruction, they do not represent me. And this is a last resort that this mission has to exist. It's a shame. It is a shame. And I could talk for a very, very long time about our mistreatment and abuses in our imprisonment, trust me. But that is not the story. What happened here was that Israel, while continuing to worsen and escalate their genocide and mass destruction with genocidal intent, attempting to erase an entire population, an entire nation in front of our very eyes, they once again violated international law by preventing humanitarian aid from getting into Gaza while people are being starved. And we want to also emphasize that we do not only need humanitarian aid to enter Gaza. We need an end to the siege. We need an end to the occupation and the oppression. This action was challenging our extremely violent business as usual that is preventing these war crimes from happening.
Damn. She's on fire. Some people are like, I don't like her voice, or she's so young and opinionated. She's been brainwashed. I'll take it. I'm here for it. I'm here for these young people finding their voice in front of us in public. And I've been a long-time supporter of hers. And I don't know. If you want to levy some criticisms, let me know. But she's got my vote. She's got my support. All right, let's go to the Secretary of Transportation, a former Real World star and Christian nationalist, Sean Duffy.
So how long can the system run safely? So for essential air service, that is going to be impacted as of Sunday. It was going to be Thursday. We found some more money to put into it. We're trying to do the best we can to keep this process with minimal impact. The controllers have to show up for work, right? They have to come to work. They're part of our critical infrastructure. The problem is they're going to show up for work and they're not going to get paychecks. And like everybody here, these are working men and women who rely on their paychecks, and they set up their payments consistent with when their paychecks are going to come in. And they're going to do the work. They're not going to get the check. And again, they have bills they have to pay. So now they're thinking about that at the same time that they're controlling the airspace, which I don't like that. That is not. We want them to leave their personal problems at the door when they go into a tower or into a facility. And again, they've expressed those concerns to me. They're going to be there. They're going to continue to work, but they might actually have to take. Someone was saying, I might have to pick up Uber. I work 6 days a week in the tower, and I might have to pick up some Uber jobs. So then they come into work tired, exhausted, because they're trying to make that extra money to make ends meet, all the while working 6 days a week to keep you safe in the airspace. Yes.
Don't you feel safer flying now? Shouldn't be an issue. I'm sure everything's going to be just fine with him at the helm. Here's John Oliver making fun of Stephen Miller and more from the Sunday episode of Last Week Tonight on HBO.
Threatening military action against your own people is alarming, especially given we've already seen troops deployed to LA and DC this year, and Trump has now ordered similar deployments to Portland and Memphis. In fact, the day after that speech, Hegseth went to Memphis and stood behind Stephen Miller as he bragged about a ramped-up federal presence there in a speech that I'm sure sounded tough in his head.
You know, the gangbangers that you deal with, they think that they're ruthless. They have no idea how ruthless we are. They think they're tough. They have no idea how tough we are. They think that they're hardcore. We are so much more hardcore than they are.
What a fucking loser. And I've got to say, at this point, white supremacists just have to be embarrassed, right? This is your champion right here? A man who looks like he still has a soft spot on his skull?
All right, there you go. That is all I have got for you in the clip show. Those are your headlines, and now it's time to get to my conversation with Maura Quint. You know her, you love her. You've seen her writing in McSweeney's, which is hilarious. You have seen her activism on everything from taxing the rich and other economic fairness ideas and so much more. And now she is at Fair Share America, fairshareusa.org. And we always love catching up with Maura, which she did last night live, and you can watch it on YouTube. Definitely give her a follow on Blue Sky, where she's very active, as well as TikTok. And I think that's it. Let's do it right now with Maura Quint. And Maura returns, and I am very happy to see you. Thank you for joining me. Hello.
Hello. How's it going in your pink room?
It's going good. How's it going where you're at? I know you're not in America. You're the only person I know, this is going to shock people, that is actually attending the Saudi Arabian Comedy Festival, which I'm shocked at. You actually bought a ticket to go. How do you defend yourself?
I just love to travel. And honestly, as a woman, I'm kind of sick of talking. So I wanted to go somewhere where that was just not going to be expected of me at all. In fact, punishable. It just felt like, self-care, really.
You wanted to experience what it would be like to be segregated from men in different spaces, right?
I'm just sick of having to do it myself. Sometimes it's nice to get a little help with that, really.
Oh, great. I'm so glad. Who are you enjoying? Are you enjoying some of the great acts that are celebrating free speech?
It's really, really great. I can't tell you who I've seen. I mean, I'm legally not allowed to tell you who I've seen. They make you sign something, but they've all been just so stellar with really cutting edge jokes from 1962, and I'm really impressed by all of it.
I hear people keep talking about you could get behanded, and that makes me laugh. Behanded. It's not as bad as beheaded, but
no, it's a little slap on the wrist with a knife. Yeah.
What do you think of that? I have to ask you. I mean, obviously you think it's preposterous,
craven and gross. Yeah. I mean, I think it's this lines up pretty well because I think it is simply a reminder that we should really not elevate people too highly in our esteem, right? Like, don't have heroes. Don't be surprised when, people who have made their living kind of saying obnoxious things try to get as much money as possible saying obnoxious things. And I mean, some of them are wildly disappointing, of course, but at the same time, like, okay, great. Now we know more about who you are.
Right. Right.
Always useful.
Do you think anybody loses anything as a result of taking the bag?
They're mostly white men, so no. Even no. I mean, like, that whole idea of like the cancel culture stuff is I just think it's pretty ridiculous and like blown out of proportion. The idea of it coming from the left. Do they lose anything? No, I don't think they had a lot of like support from the sort of people that they would lose anyway. Also, what do comedians have to lose, frankly?
Yeah. Well, I guess some moral authority.
Dignity.
Yeah. Some moral authority in talking about, for example, freedom of speech,
Did we give these guys any moral authority? See, that's where we went wrong.
I agree with you, but I do think on that issue, on that issue, it's the only issue that comedians have any moral authority on, because it's the one thing that, generally speaking, 2 weeks before that, we were supposed to be, at least I thought, mostly in solidarity around the cancellation by the federal government of Jimmy Kimmel, which is different than cancellation by mob rule or wokeness or the market. This is the federal government, so
right.
Yeah. Maybe.
I don't think Louis C.K. was rushing to be like, Disney Plus, you're gone. How do I cancel? I don't think that was happening. These guys weren't the like forefront of that movement. So, I'm not super surprised.
All right. So enough about that. I mean, I think that there's, I haven't talked to you. So just the idea that Kimmel got canceled and then returned as a result, again, I think of money, one would say they were losing so much money as a result of the cancellation. That was a triumph, right? Like that was a good thing that he returned. I felt like we don't get a lot of wins against the regime. And when we push back and we do win, I want to take a moment to celebrate it. Will you allow for that?
Will I allow for it? Am I in charge of this? Where do you think you are? I love this. Am I now a Saudi Arabia of my own making? This is fantastic for me. Never mind. I take it all back. I like what they're doing. I'm just going to do it myself too, separately.
I'd give you all the power. You're a good, you strike me. I know you pretty well. Yeah. You don't want to do any harm.
No, I don't.
I don't want to give you the power.
Well, yeah.
What you're doing now. No. Actually, when you did that, all that. She's gonna murder us all.
I am absolutely, of course I am. What were we talking about? I don't even remember. Oh, right, the Kimmel stuff. No, we absolutely should celebrate anytime we have any sort of wins. They are incredibly rare. It is a good reminder that we do have some financial power. We do have some economic power. It is really tough to organize. It is really tough to like get enough momentum and movement to make a difference. But obviously we have the ability to do it. So that's a great thing for me. Ultimately, it's just, I don't know. It's just more on the path, right? Like it's just more recognition that we are not headed towards fascism. We're pretty firmly there. Like we have corporations that are simply just doing what they are told to do, and they're going to continue to do so. And I will be surprised if Kimmel continues to stay on the air for some time. My guess is that they then sort of like find another time to be quieter and like a different excuse. I don't know. I just don't have a lot of faith in anything, but it was really nice to see the organizing take place. That's the key bit, is that we can organize when we need to. Well,
in terms of the boycotts, you think that actually mattered and had an effect?
Oh, it definitely had an effect. Yeah. I mean, like these companies really do care when they lose money. That is absolutely the case. It mattered. I mean, I think it was part of the motivation. I think they also just kind of wanted to shut it all up, like they didn't want to be in the focus in that way, which that's good too.
Have we talked? The last time we talked, I remember you talked about this thing you'd done, you organized in your community, the favor. party, and people love that. And I hope you got a lot of good feedback because we put that clip out and talking about it, because I know a lot of people love that idea. But did we talk since Charlie Kirk was assassinated?
I don't think so. Did we? I don't know. I don't think so.
What do you have to say about him and what he stood for when he was alive? What do you want to say about Charlie Kirk's legacy, Maura?
I don't want to say anything. I don't think he's worth having a legacy. He was a pretty shitty person who went around really trying to create these like viral moments where he dunks on a college kid to try to create an infrastructure on the right, which he was very successful in doing. He was very good at being a piece of shit. Congrats to him.
Yeah. Well said.
There's not much more. I am going to be canceled. I am absolutely going to be canceled. I am sure I already have been, if anyone cared. It's just nice to be noticed.
I will say that I thought that a lot of people thought that the reaction to that was going to be a lot worse than it has been right away. I don't know. People were thinking.
You mean like the violence in the streets kind of vibe?
They was going to start. They were going to take up arms against us, and there was going to be night raids against any known liberal who'd spoken out. I mean, a lot of people lost their jobs over it. I know that. But.
Yeah, that's insane. That's the corporate. The reason that we should not be run by an oligarchy. But in terms of the they're going to take up arms and start a civil war. I mean, they said that when the green M&M wasn't hot enough for them. Like, they don't need another reason. It doesn't matter. They're going to say that no matter what. So, okay. Yeah. Oh, was it Tuesday? Take up arms. Yep. Mm-hmm. That's great. I mean, what they're trying to do is they are trying to continually incite the most extreme among them to continue creating these really terrible terroristic moments. But are they going to unify and create a civil war where they have any sort of structure? And that seems less likely.
This is interesting. In the live chat, my friend Scott Bennett says, I saw a graphic showing that Google searches for Charlie Kirk have dropped almost back to nothing. The attention span has already forgotten him. I don't know if that's true, that graphic is accurate or not, but it wouldn't be that shocking given the national attention span that we have, which is also annoying why everybody says they have ADD. I'm so done with everybody saying it, especially adults, but kids too. I have ADD. Yeah, everybody does. Really?
It's ADHD, Pete. Nobody has ADD anymore. Come on, man.
Sorry. ADHD, whatever. It's I'm sorry, my ADHD is kicking in. No, you're not. No, it's not. You're no different than me. We all have a billion things on our minds going on and a fucking phone in our hand that distracts us constantly. At least I do. I don't have.
Yeah, I saw somebody the other day saying I don't know. She's just kind of a narcissist with really probably with borderline personality disorder. And the other person was I think we used to just say a bitch. I think that's what you want to say. It's all right. You can just say she's a bitch.
It's true. It's everybody is either diagnosing other people or themselves with any number of psychological maladies, and these words seemingly don't mean that much. He's OCD. Well, what does that mean? Does he check his pocket every 5 seconds for his phone, or is he just kind of meticulous, a little bit neurotic? I don't know what these terms mean anymore, especially when people give them to themselves.
Yeah, it's tricky. I mean, I think it's just part of those pendulum swings. For a long time, we sort of had this idea of society that everyone's brain worked the same way. And if yours worked differently, you were odd, there was something off or wrong about you. And we've swung into this place of hey, most brains work differently. And we're going to try and give some classification and criteria to what it means if your brain kind of works like this or like that. And I think that's positive because it is in the world of we should expand our ideas of accepting how people's brains work and what they might need and be more accommodating. And I think that's positive. But yeah, the pendulum always swings a bit too far until it kind of settles out. So it doesn't really bother me when people kind of overuse all the therapy terms and grab a hold of them. Ultimately, we're just trying to understand ourselves and each other with very imperfect tools. So, okay, sometimes it's annoying. That's where I land on that. Sorry.
What's annoying is that fucking response.
That's really fair.
That nuanced, thoughtful response.
I know. I hate me too.
That had some.
Just that I have, I'm hyper fixating on this because of my ADHD, and so I have to get to the.
Let's talk about the government shutdown, which on the eve of, you organized a pretty impressive event, bringing together, a bunch of organizations and people. You get the credit for it, and you deserve it, and it's awesome, and it's one of the things I wanted to actually for sure ask you about. So what did you do? Why did you do it? And where are we now?
Yeah, we did a big event in DC on the Tuesday of the midnight deadline. So that was the 30th of September. I'm totally lost in time right now. Saudi Arabia will do that to you. But it was a big event at the Capitol with, I think we had like 35 different orgs. Many brought in storytellers and speakers, just regular people who were talking about how the shutdown would affect them, but also how cutting healthcare, which is the main point. This is what's happening right now, is Republicans want to slash healthcare even further. That's what they want to do. And they want to do it because they want to pay for the tax cuts that they already passed to billionaires. They could have done all of this before, but they already used the reconciliation process, and they used it so that they could make sure that they got these tax cuts through. And now they're stuck with the budget, and they want to do these huge, huge cuts, and they really want to hurt people. And I give Dems a lot of shit, but to their credit, they are standing strong on this and being really loud about it. And it means a shutdown, which is awful and affects a lot of people. But at this point, the Trump administration has done so much to already gut the government in so many ways. The shutdown is not as impactful. Like, they used to be able to be like, look at all these people you're hurting when we shut down the government, but they fired all those people. I mean, not all of them, but they fired such a huge chunk to begin with. The shutdown doesn't have as extreme an impact as it used to. And the healthcare cuts that they want to push through are going to have absolutely generational impacts. They're going to kill people. So we did this event in DC, and we did it because we wanted to give people a platform to share their story. We wanted those stories to get out. We wanted groups to share them. We wanted people to share them. And we wanted Democrats to have a platform as well, because, I hear a lot, and it is a very fair criticism, and I levy this criticism as well, that like Dems aren't out there. They're not talking. They're not doing the circuits. They're not like saying enough. They're not being bold and loud enough. And I think that's true. And I have a lot of problem with leadership on the Dem side. But I will also say that so much of media doesn't give them a platform. Like they are not the ones that most media companies go to. They are not interested in platforming Dems for the most part. So it was also an attempt just to give them a platform to speak and to talk about why they were doing this, and so we could really push that out to people as well. So yeah, it was a very last minute scramble event to do. We may, if this continues on, we may end up doing another event, and I will tell you all about it if we do. Yeah, I want to be there and try to cover it and talk to some of the people that'd be great. And I think it's important what you're saying in terms of credit, in terms of what can or can't be done. And obviously the criticism of leadership, certainly Chuck Schumer, who's just an embarrassment, and Hakeem Jeffries, which I don't understand why that guy's got to be such, I guess he just seems bought and paid for by certain special interests. Obviously, it would seem the Israeli lobby when it comes to not endorsing Zohran Mamdani. Rhetorically, the guy seems pretty good. I kind of liked him until that. It feels like, I'm not sure, but is that who you're talking about? Generally speaking, the House minority leader and the Senate. That's what I've been trained to call leadership. Yep. Schumer and Jeffries. Absolutely. Yeah. And then, those are the two. You have a minority leader as well, but, minority of the minority. Yeah. They are better, but no, Schumer's terrible. And I really wanted to go after you actually for Schumer, because you're in New York, but then I realized I'm in Pennsylvania and I can't say shit. So, yeah, it's bad. Your boy is real bad. He's, yeah. But did he start off as kind of a progressive hero? No, he did not start off as a progressive hero, but he was liked generally, he was considered not as far to the right as a Connor Lamb. But we also had Malcolm Kenyatta in that race, who was viewed much more as a progressive, although I've heard mixed things as well. But no, I mean, there were concerns about Fetterman. He played really well, in terms of like capturing a wide swath of voters in Pennsylvania.
Do you think anything happens, or what are you concerned about, or what do you see happening during the shutdown that could change public perception or opinion? I mean, right away, all the major political media companies are doing polling about who's to blame and so on. But, what does that add up to necessarily? And I do think, the healthcare issue that they're fighting on is an important place to draw the line. And it would seem that overwhelmingly the progressive movement is supportive of Democrats for drawing the line at there and trying to use the leverage that they have to get these insurance premiums down for millions of Americans, I think, including me. But does anything happen? I mean, I saw the Secretary of Transportation and former Real World star Sean Duffy today saying that in about a week or so, it's going to affect airline safety. Some of these air traffic controllers are taking up Uber, which, he said that today. And I was like, really? Are they really doing that? Or is that like one guy that's not getting?
Well, they might be, but it doesn't have anything to do with the shutdown. Like that's just, you're telling me that you are underpaying your air traffic controllers because they're essential employees. So that's not a thing. Now it will, it absolutely will start to affect people because government services actually do affect people, and it will it will be felt, just not to the extent that it would have been in previous years' shutdowns. And it, I have no idea how long it will go on, and that's a conversation I've been having with like colleagues and coworkers who are more informed on federal policy than I always am, or like really watch this, and nobody's got a good answer on that because it's really hard to see an end. And I think Trump said something like, well, I'll negotiate with the Democrats because I care about healthcare, which is nonsense. He's not reached out to anybody. Nobody's talking to him. He's not talking to them. And when the shutdown happened, Republican Congress weren't even in town. Like they weren't even there to try to like sit in the room and hammer it out. They abandoned post completely because they are completely just lockstep behind Trump. So they're just kind of waiting for him to tell them what to do.
So, in terms of who you're talking, and like nobody has any idea when this is going to end, the shutdown.
Nobody has any idea.
It's interesting too, because it would seem in shutdowns past that there was a lot more focus on them. But today there's so much else happening, particularly the federal government sending secret police everywhere they can, specifically Portland and Chicago over the past week. It seems like we're very focused on that. And I don't know. It's going to take something happening for people and media and political reporters to focus more in on specifically the consequence of the shutdown. I think it seems. I don't know.
Well, no, absolutely. But I think it's a really interesting thing to contrast because what you're saying is ICE are essential employees. Really, you want to fund ICE and take away healthcare. Like that's the shutdown, I think, makes really, really clear. That's where they're more than happy to continue putting money, and they're going to take it from people who actually need it. It is a really simple comparison. And the thing is, we all know that it's getting the word out to everybody else because most people don't know that a shutdown's happening, I think. Like that's not a thing that a lot of people are even necessarily aware of. Let alone who's responsible or why or how it affects them. It's tricky.
I think most people are also not so much aware of federal troops and secret police being sent into different cities because it's not their city and they don't care. And a lot of people support it. A lot of people all these undocumented people should be kicked out. I also think those of us who see these videos of people having the shit kicked out of them, and they're just every day. There's countless ones, it would seem. I think either they're not seeing them or some people are seeing them and they're not horrified by them, which is hard to believe. But, I think a lot of people just dismiss them like, well, that guy shouldn't be here. And so he should have his face mashed into the street. And
I think it's pretty easy to breeze past, for a lot of people. And I think they are fundamentally not seeing it. And I guess the other thing though is that I don't know. Every so often it feels like overwhelming, like we're up against this impossible force because there are just so many people who support Trump and what the administration is doing. Yeah. And I think like a more important thing to remember is more people choose to ignore it than support it. And I think that's awful. And I'm not saying like good for them, but those are people that can be pulled in. And I think that's important to remember. We're not up against as many supporters as we think. We are up against a lot of people who are actively avoiding it.
Another story that's not getting enough attention, although I find at least one segment or one soundbite every day from a farmer to share on the show, is what's happening across the country to farmers whose markets, whose products, whose crops are not being sold. The market is closed. Specifically, soybean farmers you're hearing a lot about. They are preparing apparently a package to bail them out. Maura, this one's fucking nuts to me. This one is crazy that we saw this happen the first time Trump was president. There was a bailout for farmers. And remember the bailouts that banks got. You could be as against them as you want. There's a good argument to be made that people that had nothing to do with that were saved because the banks didn't go under. You can make an argument against it as well, that they shouldn't have. You can make an argument against bailing out GM, which the Obama administration supported doing, and saving the American automobile industry. But this is not that. This is a direct, specifically self-inflicted wound by the current president that immediately had consequences, began a trade war, and now we're giving them a bailout. It's total welfare for farmers who don't want it. I mean, even the most right-wing Trump, supporting farmer who grew a crop, he wants to sell that crop. He doesn't want it to die. That only creates more problems and trouble for him. What do you make of what's happening with the bailout for farmers and the trade war?
I mean, I think the frustrating thing is that we are not drawing these immediate connections, and that the individuals who are being most impacted are not being heard. And that is incredibly frustrating. I mean, there is such an infrastructure in place to just simply protect Trump no matter what he says or does. And that continues. I mean, it's fucking infuriating, but like everything, I mean, it doesn't even hit my like top 10 of things that I'm like noting this week, which is insane because it should.
Now is the time to name any of those others if you want, but I've got to also ask you just about
Saudi Arabia. Nothing but that. Anyway, go on, sir.
Just the Saudi Arabian Comedy Festival.
Saudi Arabia.
Did you see AOC went on Instagram? She's very effective. I like her very much. I think she's really good. And
she's a great communicator.
I think she's got a lot of credibility. Last night she went on Instagram and she was like knitting while talking. I was pretty impressed with that. Cause like if I'm going in front of people, hundreds of thousands of people in her case, probably like I want to be pretty dialed in. She was multitasking. Anyway, one of the clips that from that talk went viral was she was shitting on Stephen Miller saying, laugh at him. He's like 4'10". And we started this way by bashing, these fascist men and others men. And I wanted to just ask you here towards the end about your thoughts on Pete Hegseth and Trump addressing all those generals last week. It was obviously parodied everywhere, but like that was something to both be terrified of and also laugh really hard at. Like it was the worst thing my eyeballs have seen a person do live on stage as a performance. It was so bad. It was so very cringe. Oh, he said FAFO. Fuck around that. Like it was no beardos, no more beardos, no more fatties. I mean, what did you
it was such a disaster. Pete Davidson's dad died again. Yeah.
Someone said that because Pete Davidson is performing in the Saudi Arabian Comedy Festival, his dad, they've connected their energy grid to Pete Davidson's dad, who's providing all the energy they need by just his body turning over. I didn't do it right. But like Pete Hegseth, like it wasn't tough. Like I don't find that tough or intimidating. I find it so weak. And I think that our enemies do too. Like it's not tough. And none of those generals I think were particularly impressed. I bet you the vast majority of them were horrified, honestly.
Oh yeah, no. That was for nobody. That was for nobody but Trump and Pete to stand there. Like, no, nobody saw that and was just like, oh, that's power right there. No, they looked like bumbling idiots, but they always do. They just do it for themselves. And the only people who look at it and think anything good about it are the spin rooms, just being like fawning over the strength and might and whatever the fuck they want to say. But I saw somebody, and gosh, I wish I remembered who this was because he's a very funny person on the internet and probably in real life, but not someone I know, who was just like, everything is explained if you just assume everyone's 12 now. Like everyone's 12. Oh, you want to get all the generals together and be real tough? Of course you do, buddy. You're 12. Like if you just go with that mentality, it all makes total sense. Sure, of course, that's a normal thing to do because you're 12. That's exactly what's happening.
It really does resonate a lot. That's it's very accurate. Yeah. And what do you think of beardos in general?
Beardos?
That's what he said. He said no more beardos. He doesn't want like the military. You can't have facial hair.
Oh, I didn't hear that. Oh, I see. No
he
more
said
beardos.
It. The Secretary of Defense said the word beardo.
Man, I can't tell you how much I try to avoid hearing anything that these guys say because additionally, like not just that they are saying ridiculous things in stupid places and making dumb comments, their voices are so bad. Like they all have awful voices that you never want to have to hear. Like you feel like you're subjecting yourself to something.
I'm trying to think if I can push back on somebody who has a really, great voice. And I'm failing.
Find me one.
I can't think of, I'm trying to think of a right-wing commentator or elected or that somehow has some kind of a gravitas or a intimidation. And I literally keep laughing in my head because I'm thinking of Ted Cruz, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, Hawley, who there's all these rumors about his sexuality.
Yeah. I mean, who cares?
Do you think that women should be allowed to serve in combat? I think they're too emotional.
You think that men in combat are too emotional to let women in?
Women should not be. He wants Hegseth and others don't think women should serve in combat or trans people either because their medications they throw them all over the place and I think women are too emotional.
I think that when you have spent your entire life having women tell you what piece of shit you are and reject you to your face, you don't want them to be armed. Like, I think that's really all it is. Like, you don't want them to have any additional training in the ways that they are already destroying you.
Right. That's a really good point. Eye patch congressman has a nice voice. Can't remember his name.
Oh yeah, that guy. He's out though. He was gone so quick. Dan?
He's out.
Isn't he out? He's
still
gone?
in Congress. Yeah.
Really? Oh, I thought he was gone.
Seb Gorka? Dan Crenshaw. Seb Gorka.
His name is Seb. Let's leave it there.
Yeah, and his body is so bad. No offense. I don't body shame people unless they're fascist.
I have no idea what he looks like, but his name is Seb, and I want to know nothing more.
Yeah, I think it's really hard, and I'm sorry, but I do think that. I think it's very hard to come off as a tough guy. And I mean this, talking tough, much as being tough, if you have small or large breasts. Something about like a B cup, a man with like little boobies. Seb Gorka has like these. Seb Gorka has titties.
Okay. All right. I believe you.
But do you think that if you saw a man with small breasts, like Trump also has.
I don't care about the breast size of anyone involved. I've got to say, I don't know. I just hope they get fitted for the right size bra because that's a difficult thing to do.
Well, I'm glad you have empathy for them, apparently.
You want the right support. Otherwise, you're going to get real pissed off. You're not going to feel right. It's going to be really frustrating and you're going to take it out on other people.
Maybe that's why they're so upset all the time.
Just saying, a good fitting, one of the high-end places, someplace classy. Don't go to Victoria's Secret. They're not going to help you.
Really, I feel like you might be talking about not these men. That's what I feel.
Just talking about everyone. Don't go to Victoria's Secret to get fitted for a bra. That's firsthand experience.
All right. Well, this was awesome. What else? What else did I need to ask you about or anything else? I don't know. Israel. I don't know if you know what's happening there.
Bad things, I would imagine. Bad things.
Today, Trump said he'll take a look at potentially pardoning Ghislaine Maxwell, who's the leading pedophile. We saw another pastor from a mega church.
Oh yeah, that guy. Yeah.
I rarely see like a progressive religious man of the cloth being caught. I feel like every day there's a right wing. Maybe we just remark on them more because they're so outspoken against sexual anything.
I don't think we remark on them more. I think that is just, I think when your whole idea of the world is that you want to do something that we all know is absolutely vile and evil, you go about creating a world where you can't be questioned. How else are you going to do that? Like it's hand in hand. Like that is what you are going to need to do because you want to do terrible things to humans.
I think that's, say it again differently. When you create, I really think it's a really good point. You create this world in which you are the leader. You have all of the credibility. You talk down to and point out all these horrible things so that you can create kind of a world where you can get away with such horrible things.
You need to be impervious from any sort of criticisms or attacks. You absolutely need to create a world in which you are esteemed and vaulted so that you can get away with it. Because if you aren't, if you're just some random fucking dude, like people are going to come at you. They're going to notice things and they're going to call it out. But if you have created a world where you have this like absolute authority over the people around you, then they kind of can't do anything.
Yeah. Kim in the chat, Kim says every accusation is a confession. It would seem. I heard the Supreme Court's back though. That's good news. Apparently they're going to take up an argument.
They had like an ins and outs for summer. Like what's out? Getting too tan. What's in? Supreme Court's back.
They're back.
Oh, I wish.
And this apparently they're going to be taking up a case on conversion therapy, which is, of course, if a person, especially a child, I think, identifies as LGBT, you could fix them. It's considered by psychologists across the board, in my understanding, abusive to try to do that. It's a horrible thing to do, and it only makes it worse, is my understanding, and can lead to more self-harm and suicide. But what are your thoughts on the Supreme Court, or are you for or against conversion therapy? What if it wasn't about your...
Can we convert the Supreme Court? Can we try on them first? Let's convert them into not pieces of shit. A few of them, they're going to do fine, but for the majority, it's going to be a rough slog.
We should use a different kind of conversion therapy against the justices of the Supreme Court.
I'm happy to run it. I mean, somebody has to, and I'm just willing to step up.
You are so brave and courageous. I wonder what that will look like.
It's not going to be pretty.
It is going to be. They're such Christian nationalists on the court. I think that anything that comes up in front of them that deals with culture war related, gender related, sexual orientation related, reproductive rights related, you kind of know where they're going to fall. Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. We've absolutely. The court is currently full of right-wing crazies. And I mean, I feel bad, like, especially when you read the dissent from the liberal justices, that is just, they are so full of like, what the fuck are we doing? Yeah, this has to stop. It's really awful. It's really awful to see.
All right. Yeah. Well,
on that high note,
are there any favor dinners coming up or anything else that you're doing to create community and unify people that we need to know about?
No, I'm continuing with the salon that I run of women in the community, and that keeps growing. So that's really great. And we are rallying around a local mayoral candidate and doing some real hyper-local politic stuff.
Awesome.
So, yeah.
Awesome. And you are, more people are coming to it, you're saying?
Yeah, it keeps growing. It's pretty great. Yeah, it's really nice. In fact, one of our participants, I don't know what you want to call her, but she is interested in trying to do this then for high schoolers, for teenagers, and like doing
Cool.
a co-group. So,
Love that.
Yeah, we're looking into it.
Love that. If you want to know more about how to do it, reach out to Maura, and she can give you the blueprint, or at least what's been working for her and her community, because we love that. All right. Thank you very much for joining me. As always, it's great to catch up. It's great to see all the people in the live chat commenting about how happy they are to see you. One person says we need to save the date. We need to save the date for Pod Jam 3 so we can wrap Maura in bubble wrap. I think they want to protect you and preserve you like a jar of jam.
That's lovely. I would love that. And someone needs to do it. I actually always considered one of those big hamster balls. I feel like would be good for me. Hard to get on a plane, but I think it would be good. Maybe they could do the thing where they they drop you from the bottom and then they swing.
I mean, I full on
like a Fellini film is what I'm looking at. Yeah.
I full on imagined you in a giant human-sized hamster ball, at first laughing and then panicking because I know you're going to hurt your ankle.
Inside the ball. That's right. That's absolutely correct. But do tell me on Pod Jam. I will save the date.
This is hilarious at first, and then she's pretty banged up. We got to let her out of the ball. We shouldn't have made it clear. Why is she wearing a fur coat? All right, Maura, thank you very much for joining me. As always, thank you, everybody, for joining me live, and we really appreciate it. Go support Maura right now. Follow her on Blue Sky and all the things, and we'll talk to you later. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
All right, there she goes, Maura Quint. FairShareUSA.org. Give her a follow. Let her know you heard her here on the show. Review the show on Spotify or Apple Podcasts. Give it 5 stars. Patreon.com/Pete Dominic. This is ad-free subscriber support. I can't do it without you. November 6th in Virginia. Open to attend the Jon Carroll release party, but even if I can't, you should go. November 6th in Virginia, JonCarroll.org. Buy the new album. He writes, performs all the music. He's a very important, valued member of our community. We know and love him very, very much. Take it away, sir.
Off on your fence, even if it ain't a very friendly audience, well, they'll begin to listen when you start making sense, and you stand up, stand up. No need to point your rifle to defend your town, just stand up, stand up. You know they can't deny you what you're laying down, boy, you better stand up, stand up. Show your face of every color, yellow, black, red, and brown. She's the place where every lost child will finally be found. There's only one thing to do before we stand our ground, and that's stand up, stand up. Well, the founding fathers saw a land for all. They had to stand up, they had to stand up. They had a keen imagination for a crystal ball, drawing all the plans of stand up. But all they had to go on was the time they were in, with other causes for laws, and since they weren't even sin, they knew that change was gonna come before the change could begin. They had to stand up. All right, they had to stand up. We got to stand up. We got to look the devil square in the eye. We gotta let him know it's his time to go, and make it clear when all we hear is a lie. Why you lying awake wondering where the money all went? It'll be the cost of freedom that'll go unspent. You can see him flee the scene of that experiment if you stand up. All right, we got to speak up. We got to reach Reach up and raise your voice in every way you know how. Don't be toes up, you got to show up. Ain't no better time to do it but now. No need to pledge allegiance to no wanton tribe. Rise up, show obedience to the voice inside, and listen well and hear